yes, sure, Jeff Bezos' parents was not a billionaire, so he did not inherit $1 billion, nor did he inherit $1 million. But his parents were able to give him his first couple $100,000.
Proud
Yeah.
for you. You're
So
obviously
the
doing
question
some.
is,
You're obviously doing some good. So here's a couple of rules I've discovered in 30 years of working with wealthy people. Okay, number one, almost no one statistically becomes a millionaire from an inheritance. So that's all just mythology and bullcrap. Okay, and we've done the largest study of millionaires ever done in North America, 10,167 of them. 89% of them did not become millionaires because of inherited money. So you're not that unusual as you become a millionaire.
Welcome back, YouTube. So there you just heard Dave Ramsey claim that most millionaires did not inherit their wealth through inheritance, and he's been saying this for a very long time. But this was a very recent video, and I wanted to bring it up because it was at this moment where I realized, what does he actually mean by inheritance? And so I really tried to think about it. And the conclusion that I came to was, he's lying to you. Him, his friends, and other people like him, and people that you may know as well in your life, are also lying to you. They are getting inheritance. They're just not calling it that because it sounds different than what people associate inheritance with. Most people associate inheritance with something your parents left to you and you had to take it because they're dead now. That's not all that inheritance means. And so for you to frame it as though most people become millionaires in other ways outside of inheritance, is, I think it, you have to look at each story and really try to decipher where the money really came from. Because I get it, of course you can become a millionaire without the assistance of your family and help, or and only doing it through working and saving. Sure, it's possible. But I think if we have to be real about the whole situation and what it really means to have inheritance and what it really means to have wealth as a family generationally. And I'm not to get into, oh yeah, we gotta build generational. That's not the conversation I'm having. The conversation I'm trying to have is that a lot of people are lying to you. I grew up in New York. I've seen many, many people come from around the world, okay, and claim that they're broke and starving just like the rest of us that have been born and grown in New York and are actually in poverty, right? But they're not. They're not in poverty. They're not struggling. Yeah, they are struggling for their age, but they also have the support of their family. A lot of these people have, maybe they don't have the best apartment in Brooklyn, but someone else is paying the rent. And they don't tell you that part ever. So the reason why this stuff started to stick out to me is because just the other day I just stumbled across this video with this guy that I watch occasionally. His name is Anthony Bourdainero. He does real estate videos, and I've been interested in real estate for a really long time, which is how I ended up getting mixed up in the whole Jay Morrison thing. With that to the side, he talks about the housing market and how the prices continue to increase. And the common complaint around everyone in real estate or people that are looking for homes right now is that the prices keep going up, and they don't show any signs of letting up despite the interest rates. Meaning that not only are the houses costing more, but the mortgage payments are increasing because of the interest rates, and usually that causes the prices of the homes to deflate. But in this market, never before seen, the prices aren't actually coming down everywhere. So, but at the same time, people are in bidding wars for these houses that are at ever increasing prices. So how is this possible? And so Michael is talking to a fellow real estate agent, and he just gives you the answer straight up. Let's take a look.
see this all the time in the comments section is, how do people have all of this money? Like, you live in a very expensive area here. Obviously, what is the average home cost here? At least $3-4 million for most people. You have to make a ton of money to be able to even qualify to get a mortgage for a home like that. But what is happening? Like, are these people getting mortgages? Do they actually have the income? Do they pay cash? Like, who are these people?
Mom and dad. They usually get as the people that help. No, yeah, there's a.
And that's the answer, is that right now the real estate market is full of people who are basically the children of wealthy homeowners. They are getting their down payments and their help and in all sorts of ways from the bank of mom and dad. And we're going to understand why in a few seconds.
A lot of old money in places like this in Santa Barbara. I was born and raised here, and oddly enough, Michael, before Santa Barbara became this huge tourist destination that we now see it is today, you could be a single family, blue collar wage earner. Dad works, mom stays home and raises the kids. That's the way traditionally you could survive here in America. Now you've got to be not only a dual income family, a dual income white collar wage earning family, and even if you are, you still don't qualify for a home here in Santa Barbara. You need to bring a massive down payment to make sure your monthly is not going to be overwhelming to you in order to pull a mortgage at all. So it's getting trickier and trickier, which is why I'm going ahead and screaming from the rooftops, real estate bubble. I don't.
All right, so there you have it. He explains how this stuff is happening in so many words. We could break it down some more, but essentially he's saying people have in Santa Barbara who've been there for generations have lived there for a long time. They lived there so long that they were able to buy homes in traditional families a long time ago. And now the price has risen so much. So what happens when the price has risen so much in a home you own and the area the price has gone up? You build a ton of equity. What happens when you build a ton of equity? You either keep that equity in the home, or you can also pay off the mortgage. Obviously, some people have. But if you have a lot of equity in your home, you have the opportunity to take some of that equity out and use that in other ways. Most notably, real estate investors or people that want to be in real estate, they take that equity out in either a HELOC or refinancing, and they use it as a down payment to purchase another property. But the thing I want to get to is a lot of families most likely are using that for their children, for their adult children. Now, the reason I'm even bringing this up is because I feel like as Black people, a lot of times we don't really think about our wealth standing in relation to other people around us, like outside of what we can naturally see or hear, right? So I would say that in like middle school, because I grew up in New York, and around middle school, like high school and stuff, you generally go to school with people that are in your same socioeconomic background. So there isn't that huge deviation. You're not really seeing, the rich kids. So everything seems like the rich kids is only a very, very, very few of them. But the reality is that it's not. And the whole lie starts to attempt to permeate you around the college age, is when you're going to college and everyone's saying, oh yeah, I'm a starving college student, I'm a broke college student just like you. And the truth is they're not. Yeah, maybe they don't have like $1,000 currently in their bank account, but they're not really broke, right? They're going home to their family's 10-bedroom house, and you're going back home to that project in the Bronx. And yeah, they don't have a ton of money and they're wearing shorts and flip-flops to class, but someone paid their tuition. And it doesn't matter how someone paid their tuition. The fact is someone paid their tuition. They didn't have to worry about it. But for a majority of Black students, we have to worry about it. We have to pay for that stuff. We have to take out student loan debt. We are the ones burdened and crushed under student loans Not to say that it isn't something that we shouldn't do, because I definitely think we should do it regardless. We just have to figure out a way to do it in a wise way, meaning we have to figure out how much student loans we're willing to take out, how much we're willing to pay for school, and what we are willing to actually study and what we are willing to do once we're done. But all that aside, my whole point is these people are basically lying to you, and they're trying to relate to you on a level that you're at when they're nowhere near that level. And what I mean by this is, it just reminds me of all the Brooklyn Betties that shop at the thrift store and wear beat up Air Force Ones and some old thrifted Levi's and talk about how they're so broke. Oh my God, coffee is $6, but their parents pay their rent and they have a full-time job. That's what I'm talking about. So it's not a problem that parents pay for their children. I think that's exactly how things should be. But I want, I guess, Black people to recognize that most of us are very far off from that. And we know it, and we have like a couple building steps towards it. We heard the term generational wealth, and we caught on to that like, oh yeah, I've got to build generational wealth. But people are using it to basically like scam Black people into like paying for things that they think they're going to be rich overnight. But the truth is, you can't get rich overnight. Most of these families that I'm talking about were able to build this wealth through real estate ownership over a very long period of time. And during that period of time, Black people were prevented from that same activity through redlining and a host of other policies and institutional systems that kept them from having the same equity, having the same ownership, having the same opportunity to be in the same neighborhood, and all that stuff. So, suffice to say, parents should be paying for students' student loans and all those things, but I feel like the media does a very, very good job of making it seem like absolutely a majority of people are suffering under the boot of capitalism or the boot of, broken policy or anything like that. When the reality is, a majority of people are either mishandling their finances or they're just lying. They're just straight up lying. Or they're lying in a way that is hard to call it out. Because if you're a college student, you've experienced things that I've experienced in college, it's hard to really say to somebody, nah, you're really not broke. And they really do have only $50. It's really hard to have that conversation of, no, you're gonna do fine, because yes, you're crying and complaining that your parents forced you into taking this specific major that you didn't really want to do because they're paying for your college tuition, but at the end of the day, as soon as you graduate, they have a job lined up for you because they've been buddies with this person from whatever company for the past 20 years or whatever. They're not going to explain the entire story to you. They're not going to explain that yes, they came from Midwest America where things were however, and it was their dream at 22 to move to New York and live in New York and do whatever, and then if things go wrong, they could just call their parents and their parents will take care of them for the next 6 months. They're not going to explain the whole story to you. They're just going to tell you the bad. And the reason I think that they do that is because it makes them feel like they're fitting in. A lot of America right now is full of a broken American dream type of story at the moment. So no one is actually outwardly trying to express their wealth. There was literally a whole trend in the past few weeks talking about quiet luxury, how wealthy people express their wealth by being super like wearing like super like expensive things without like showing you that they're wearing the super expensive things. It's like a whole thing. So I say all that to say Dave Ramsey is correct, but he's also wrong within the same statement, because as far as I know, inheritance means whatever you get from another part of your family generation, whether they are dead or not. Even if they're alive, to me, that is still an inheritance. If your family gives you $100,000 for a down payment, that's an inheritance. Even though they're not dead. Like, they don't gotta be dead for it to be considered a real inheritance. It's still an inheritance. It could be a gift, whatever. If you put it on your taxes, it's gonna be considered a gift, whatever. It's still an inheritance. Yeah, sure, Jeff Bezos' parents was not a billionaire, so he did not inherit $1 billion, nor did he inherit $1 million. But his parents were able to give him his first couple $100,000. And this was in the early 90s. A couple $100,000 in the early 90s is basically $1 million right now, right? And he was able to build this humongous business. Most Black Americans simply don't have a spare couple $100,000. And those of us that do, it ain't that many of us. Regular Black people don't really know that many other Black people that have that type of spare change. The people that we know that have that type of spare change are all celebrities or athletes, which is like a type of celebrity. They're all entertainers. We barely know of any business people or business owners that are Black that have this type of spare change. It's just not the reality. So I don't know. I just be rambling, but I just thought I should really think about that. So when you take in information like what Dave Ramsey is saying of like, oh yeah, most millionaires don't inherit their wealth, we really have to break down like what that really means, because to him it means, oh, they didn't become millionaires because somebody died. But in reality, it means most likely that they got their money from their parents in order to even start their life or to give them a leg up, which is what should happen. But for Black people, it's just not happening. So we have to recognize what's actually happening around us and understand what part of economic standing we really have, because there is a racial wealth gap and it exists for many, many reasons. And a lot of it starts in home ownership. So if we're gonna talk about real estate with Dave Ramsey, we have to talk about the whole big picture and every part of it, every cog in the machine, not just, oh, someone didn't die and they didn't get money after, therefore they didn't inherit any wealth. Nah, they inherited wealth. If they got sent to private school, they inherited wealth. If they got extra tutor, to me, they inherited wealth. If they got their entire college tuition paid for all 4 years by a family member, they inherited wealth. If they got some seed money for their business, they inherited wealth. To me, all those things mean you inherited wealth. But that's all for now. Thank you guys for watching. Peace.